the Women on Earth show, and it's a whole like 4-day weekend of tombstone stuff.
I mean, I love that kind of stuff. Has anybody watched Longmire?
Yes.
I mean, do you know the guy's actually from Australia? So, but I couldn't imagine anybody being, John, have you watched the show? I think you would like it. I don't think anybody else would be Longmire better than this guy, but he has this really heavy Australian accent, and he makes him looking like a Western dude from, Montana, like really easy.
Right. All right, we're ready.
Okay, ready? All right, I'd like to welcome everybody to May 2nd, 2022, Idaho Springs City Council work session. And we are going to kick things off with a special events update.
Mayor and Council, administrative staff wanted to just bring this little update to you about what we've been doing with special events and kind of what's been happening to date. We've done a lot of work with the community to try to make special events as a process work better for people and expedite where we can to make it easy. There's a lot of work that goes into special events on our staff, and we need to make sure that we do everything correctly. Over the course of the spring, there's been a couple events also that have had variances that require policy decisions. And we think that some of these policy decisions need to come to council. We would like to talk to you a little bit further about that. But what I thought was we might start with Patty, who can give an overview of kind of like what happens for special events, just briefly. And then Wonder's got some things about what's in code that are required for us for special events. And then we just wanted to have a conversation with you about what we may want to do moving forward with events in the future, just from a policy perspective. Patty, do you want to come sit with us up here so that you can?
I guess.
Okay.
Come over here.
Patty, I'd like to grab a seat up here. Okay. Yeah.
Then on my camera. I don't believe that. So I'm kind of coming into special events to help Wonder out and kind of be the upfront person that checks the paperwork, make sure that everything is correct, that people have gotten all the stuff that we require of them to get. And kind of the unique thing for me is I'm coming from the other side of the fence. So I spent a lot of years working with mostly Diane and then with Wonder, turning in my paperwork and finding out what's wrong and wasn't. So it's a little bit easier for me to tell people that that's wrong because I know I did it before. So we don't have a complicated special events, but it looks like it's long because some things are a couple of pages that just require a signature. So we ask that people return their paperwork 60 days prior to the event. And the reason we do 60 days is because we end up doing a lot of hand holding. Even though we tell people we want a completed packet, the times that we get that completed packet is more rare than the norm. So we end up going back to them 2 or 3 times in order to get the required paperwork. Once we get the paperwork, then we have to get signatures from all the police department, from public works, from fire and EMS. Thank you. And health if they're gonna have food. And that takes a little bit too, because a lot of these people don't have extra time to be going through their emails and finding really fast. So we kind of have to handhold that along too.
And Patty, the 60 days is written into code. It's not
Correct.
We're not asking, so that's actually in our municipal code.
Right, so that is a requirement that they have to have the paperwork in 60 days. And again, 60 days seems like a lot, but because we have to handhold them a lot of times, it's really not that much time. If they're having a liquor event, then it becomes a little bit more complicated because that paperwork goes to Wonder, and Wonder has to follow all the liquor board rules and regulations, which require that, that she has to have the paperwork 30 days before. She has to send it in. She has to get them their sign that says they're going to have a liquor, and I should probably let her do that part. And then once I have signatures from all of the heads of the departments, then I'm able to send those signatures to the event coordinator and let them know that their event is a go ahead.
One other thing, Patty, that we did this year that you kind of led the effort on is we started having a special event meeting in spring. That gets all the people who have had special events together, so we can talk about what's required for events and kind of thinking about calendars and that kind of thing. We do plan on having a similar event in the fall. So we are planning to start kind of bookending the season with what worked, what didn't work, and an opportunity for change. Do you want to talk about the code requirements for special events a little bit?
Sure. Really well, so you already touched on that the municipal code requires 60 days advance for all the reasons Patty said, and also because we do get a lot of requests for special events. And we need to keep track of what's happening, so we're not saying, oh, sure, this is fine this date. Oh, sure, this is fine this date, and then we have 4 things at one time. So it really does allow us to make a better event with enough time to plan and get everything in correctly. The liquor is totally correct. You have to have it 30 days in advance, no exceptions. There is a 10-day requirement for posting. So anybody has an opportunity to come to City Hall and say, I don't want liquor at this event. You know, it's like a public hearing, but we don't have to go to public hearing. So there is a requirement on that in order for them to have liquor at said event also. It says, you know, by the time they submit it to us, it needs to be complete, that we do not have to look at it unless it's complete. It's like a 17-page application, but most of it's all the, you know, the legal wording. You know, I'm gonna be responsible, all these things. So for me, it's just a lot of wording and just a couple of signatures. And Patty is right, when it goes to fire, it goes to PD, it goes to Public Works, it goes to EMS, it goes to Public Health. We also need time to think about traffic impacts and parking. Sometimes we need to bring interstate parking into it if there's gonna be a big event, you know, so they're not doing excessive tickets or something. If there is big events, you know, letting their residents know that there are big events, so they know that Colorado Boulevard can be really busy. There'll be runners or bikes running through town and stuff, so. Yeah, there's a lot to it.
The other thing I wanted to bring up that kind of goes along this lines is Penny and Wonder, especially last year for Wonder. This is a really hard process through COVID because the rules changed every 2 seconds. Wonder did a really great job last year of managing that. We have some latitude on special events between what's policy and what's law. And we've already talked to you guys a little bit about that. One of the things is the marketplace. What happens on the marketplace from a programming perspective is not really a special event, but it's very similar in a lot of ways. And so what we have been allowing this year for or well, not organization, but for the city-run marketplace is kind of a batch application for the different pieces. So they're still required to provide all the same information, but they can do it from a programming perspective for the space. We have been talking at staff level and with people who are doing special events about ways that we can make life easier for staff and life easier for people who are doing events. And one of the things that we might consider is that things like the rec center and places that are community organizations in good standing, it may make sense to change the way that their processes work, but we think that that conversation would be better served in fall. We're pretty much into a special event season right now, and we'd like to just move forward with what we've got rule-wise. There is some latitude on this decision-making process. There's a difference between policy and law here in some areas. One thing we can talk about is where that might make sense to have some conversations. One thing that's come up in that way is fees. We charge every organization fees because there is a significant amount of staff time required for these events. That changes depending on the level of the event. And so we can look at that a little bit, but there's also state fees for going through the liquor process and then Wonder's time doing that work. We've been asked frequently to get rid of fees. And I think we're getting to the point where everybody's just asking for that same thing. And I think that one of the things we can do from a policy perspective is look at where those fees are and why we would why we might forgo fees for certain organizations. For instance, the rec center. I think that there's also application fees and then there's liquor fees. I think liquor fees might be a slightly different story, but that's something we could talk about in the fall and make sure our fees are appropriate and set up so that we're having good community events. And I think that's what we're going for. I just wanted to say from a staff perspective, I'm really proud of these two specifically for what they've done on special events this year. I've asked them to do a lot because I think this is an area where we interact with the public really frequently. And the level of customer service that we provide directly correlates to the trust our community has in our staff and, you know, through them council. And I think that you guys have done a really good job of interacting with people. I think we are continuing to work with people. One of the challenges though, and I want to open that up for questions if you have them, is when we have an event that could potentially overwhelm a neighborhood or could potentially overwhelm the city. We believe that from an equity perspective and kind of due process, thinking about that kind of thing, we need to have a process by which if there's something that does create a variance, for lack of a better term, from what is normally allowed for an event, that we have an avenue to discuss that with council, because some of this stuff could be like, are we going to allow Idaho this way to be shut down, the residential street, so you couldn't drive on it for an event for 4 or 5 hours? What is the maximum we allow in a park? If we have an event last summer like Haley Washington, when we didn't know that she was going to win a gold medal, how can we handle that event so that we can celebrate what she was able to accomplish legally and ethically, so we're not providing one set of rules for one person and another for another. Those are the kinds of policy questions we'd like to discuss with you potentially this fall. I don't think we have any of those outstanding issues. Again, to their credit, Wonder and Patty, we did have an event that was causing some pretty big concerns in the community. And they were able to work with the person who's putting that event on and come up with a really great solution. So that it's not going to impact our community quite so much this year. And then in the future, we have a path to have that be a part of our community for the next 40 years or however long it will be here. So that's kind of what we're thinking. Maybe this fall, we'd have another kind of meeting like this and talk about policy. But we wanted to also open to questions just to make sure everybody was on the same page on what we're doing with special events and if there's any direction from council on things that you might like to see.
In the packet, when you have somebody, like especially with I'm looking at these events and saying, which one of these are reoccurring? And so far, I think all of them, except for the two brothers up and down, I don't know what that is, all seem to be reoccurring events. What if on the end of the packet, it said, hey, next year, what would you think your tentative date would be? So that at least on the back of your guys' mind, not only that, you can actually have a tentative schedule of upcoming events for 2023 for whatever, and you can go, okay, maybe the relay is on that day, but maybe we also have the request for this other thing on that day. And that way you can shut that down right away and say, we already have a humongous event going to be in town. There's no way we can overlap this. I mean, that's a long ways out to be able to say, I'm going to nip this in the bud right now. And it's a simple little question.
That's our intention for next year. We've already started that process. So some of the events that are not city sponsored that we are going to do that already is 9/11 and the Pearl Harbor Day Memorial that happens on the 23rd
Right.
Street Bridge.
Mhm.
We want to make sure a lot of these events, the city, they're real important to the city, but they're not run by the city. So we do need to make sure we have a calendar. And I think that's the intention of this fall wrap-up meeting is to get that calendar put in place as early as possible. One of the challenges with liquor permitting, and Wonder, you can speak more to this if I don't say it correctly, is Wonder needs to, there's certain organizations are only allowed to have a certain number of events, like 15 events per year.
15 days.
Yeah.
So
Per year.
she needs to be able to check that liquor license prior to the event in a proximity of time where we know that they haven't exceeded that limit. So like if it's 2, it's one thing, but we want to make sure that we're being good stewards of that information. So that piece we can do a little bit closer to the end. But I think we could definitely, and that's kind of what we've been doing, is come up with this calendar so that in, hopefully by February, we're pretty good on what is happening.
I wonder if there's a way, John, to get that information out, because I think just not that the library does anything that's really closing a street or anything like that, but the rec center and the schools certainly do. Even the Halloween parade, we even had a conversation that we might want to do a zombie crawl, things like that. These would be kind of co-sponsored with an entity. Is there some way to get the information out to say, sooner rather than later, if you guys are already talking about this is the date you want this event to happen, the city needs to know as soon as possible. Otherwise we're going to have overlapping competing events and that doesn't make sense for anybody.
Right, and that's one of the benefits of the ISMA programming that we did. Now, so this is my just brainstorming idea. I'm not saying this is passing any sort of muster, but what I envision for that kind of thing is and these are probably not the right words, but a security and control plan, if an event is going to be dramatically similar all the time, to still be required to give us all the information we need. We're not going to skip anything. But that way, like, for instance, the marketplace people can program within that space as long as they follow the general rules for that and zombie crawl and Halloween things. And then we can plan for a season instead of trying to do all these one-offs. I think that could be very effective. So I agree with you. I think we can definitely implement that.
Well, you shouldn't also be in charge of it either. It shouldn't be the city's responsibility to go out to the entire community and say, I need your stuff now. They should know you need to turn this in, it needs to get done. And I didn't know that you had to do all these, hoops to jump through. That was unbeknownst to me, but having everybody know this, I think would actually help maybe put a, match under their.
We've been working at this at the chamber and the ISMA as well. I'm vice president of the chamber right now, and the chamber and the ISMA just merged. And
I know, that's a great thing.
I think it is, and I think we have an opportunity to build a really cool new organization that serves residents and manages tourism in the same way. And one of the things that I think is going to be really valuable to the membership of both organizations and to the city is that they can help coordinate the kind of the boots on the ground level event things. Sadie has been super helpful in that already, and we work pretty closely every day together. And my intention as we kind of think about administration and how this department works, I would really like to not necessarily streamline special events, but work special events in so that by the time they come to Patty, this idea of handholding isn't there. Because I think this idea of what the length of time in our code is required. It should be just to review the application. We shouldn't be, and we do want to build time in for people, but if we can have some other processes that take that over, I think we'll be more efficient and better stewards of our time.
I also think the 60 days in the code is enough time to, if there is like a waiver requested or some type of bigger, you know, that they have time to get on council's agenda. You know, it gives enough time to process all of those avenues if we need to.
But I'm not against becoming a council at any point in time, guys. That was never the intention with that particular event. But you know, I don't even know if you were working for the city when we took it off the council's
Oh,
plate.
no,
Yeah, so none of you guys were, I mean, that was way before any of you guys were here. John, you were probably on council when the city came to us, staff said, hey, you don't need to do this. And we were like, great, here you go.
I think we can take the major things. Here's an example of something that I might.
So, no,
Yeah.
not that we can't take it back, is all I'm saying,
Well, no,
that that's part of it.
I was thinking more along the lines of like very specific policy questions.
Sure,
For instance, CRC Park is a lovely park. It's literally the only flat space we have in our park where if you were gonna go play ball or something like that, that's where you'd go if you were gonna do a Idaho Springs. And maybe that'll change in the future, but for now, that's what we have. So if we are gonna say, okay, let's put 3,000 people into this park over a 4-hour period, it becomes concerning to me because it's like it's an impact on that community around the park. And it's also, you know, we have a lot of different uses that happen there. We have rafting and then we have recreation and then all these different things that are there. And I think that those are the kinds of questions I want to bring. You know, another question we had that I think is a policy question is, are we wanting to allow the reservation of, say, the gazebo, especially if we ever remodel it and make it different than it is today, or different park facilities? Would we allow that reservation system? I think we kind of do, but we need to, there's some of those policy decisions that I think that for the perspective of staff, because staff doesn't, you know, they can just say what their role is. It would be helpful to make sure that they have really clear directive when they're talking to people. I think that's somewhat my responsibility as in my role to make sure that they have those policy directives. And I think if we just talk about this at a work session, 90% of it will be okay, but it's like the Haley Washington thing. Are we okay like with, because the code does give council the latitude to say we can skip 60 days as well. We can't skip 30, but we can skip 60. So maybe something along those lines if we can't figure out a way to do it. But I think 95% of the time we can handle it on a staff level. I just want to make sure that I'm giving them the backdrop that they need to be effective in their positions.
no, absolutely, but it does actually say in here, I read this today, that you do ask where you want to rent.
Yeah.
And we have, in fact, I mean, the precedent had been set for multiple years
Yeah.
that people did reserve the park. Not the gazebo in particular, but it was kind of all inclusive.
Yeah.
Back in the day, so, because it was a farmer's market and the watershed event, which were two very, very large events.
We'd like to start having events in Waterwheel Park too, potentially. And that could be another space that would be cool to do that. And I think this is maybe another work session topic about how, because maybe we could build a system that would make it easier to reserve spaces.
That's a great idea.
One more special event item I wanted to bring up to you all just today. I just want to kind of put this on your radars. We signed a 5-year contract with Zambelli Fireworks to do fireworks on the 4th of July in Idaho Springs. They do a great show. They've done a great show in Idaho Springs for a very long time. I am not 100% sure if we're going to be able to have fireworks on the 4th of July this year with the fire danger. We work very closely with the county and the fire authority to make sure that if it is going to happen, it's going to be safe, and it will not happen if it's not going to be safe. We do have an alternate fire date, which is the Saturday after Thanksgiving. We've done it once in recent past. It's actually kind of a cool event, so we can do that if we'd like to. We have a decision point coming up on our contract that we need to think about and just kind of keep in your heads as we move forward, and that is June 25th. That's when we lose our deposit, is June 25th. Now, with that being said, we can move to our alternate date afterwards because they understand that we live in a fireplace that, you know, that there's a lot of fire danger here. So if we move the date to the alternate after June 25th, we're still good to go. We can still do that. But if we're going to cancel our show, that's the day where it matters. Now,
June 25th is the last day.
I think that we have some time. We definitely don't have to make a decision right now, but I just want to keep that on everybody's forefront. If we do cancel the show, I've already been working with Sadie and TJ about what we might do downtown to augment what's going to occur that day. There's still going to be bands. We've been looking at some things for the kids that might make it a little bit more fun that day, and different activities. But right now, I want to make sure that we're thinking about that fireworks show and where we are as a county right now in terms of fire danger.
I just wanted to add one thing to special events. I have put out the offer to everybody that's coming in for a special event or wants to have one to come and talk to me to make sure the paperwork is right before they hand it in or to go over any questions. And I've had 3 or 4 groups do that. Come in and, well, what's supposed to go here? What do you want? And that's been very helpful for both them, so they know what they're doing. And for me, it comes in complete.
Would it help for you to like, because I know Jonathan and I chatted about this, would it help for you to make a video where you walk through the package and you say, here's what I need, here's what I need, and it goes on our website?
It would be awesome if someone made a video that did that.
So if someone, whoever that someone is, makes a video that says, here's how you do your packet and walks you through I mean, it could be like a 20-minute video, but that would be a good starting place for people.
20 minutes might be a little bit long because, you know. a lot
I
of
was just
people-
thinking going through the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that could easily be tried.
So either you have anything you'd like to add to the conversation, because they both affect both of you as well. One example, we had one last week where this became an issue, and when we have an event that people publish without talking to staff first, it really impacts our staff.
Are you looking at me?
Huh?
Are you looking at me?
No, I'm just saying, this has happened in the past where we have tried to work with people. There's been ones that have been published in the past, and it would be bad for the entire community if we didn't have it, and we've done our best to make sure it happens. My goal here with this is all the programs that we do at administration is to provide a good crosswalk for people so that they can access the information they need and access the services they need, which in this case would be making sure that a street closure happens or whatever, but in a way that is safe and feasible for our staff, and that includes all departments of staff. We're probably going to need to start having a little bit firmer walls when people come, when they haven't followed any of the rules, and we can always do things and say, hey, you may not be able to do this particular thing that you'd like to do, but we can do these things. And I think we as staff are willing to do that. But I think that that's something I want to just end on, is that there are going to be times, and it's happened in the past, and it's never been that there wasn't support for staff in this way. So I'm not saying that, but there are times when staff has to say no for reasons that are for very specific reasons. And I just want to, it's not what anybody's striving for. And we are really trying to build a system where that won't happen. But, there's certain things that we just can't always do. For instance, shutting a street down without notice when we don't have staff and they're doing other jobs. That's a thing that can be a little tricky. And so I think that as we move forward, I'm hoping that as we improve all these communications and we improve these processes, that our ability to do that will be stronger as a staff, and we can say it with, a straight face and not create an issue within our community. So, I don't think anyone wants events not to happen. We just got to do it in a way that's smart for everyone.
All right. Anything more on special events? A massive thank you to Wonder and Patty
Yes.
for
Good
doing
job.
this. Okay, next on the agenda is council goals for 2022.
So Mayor and Council, you have in your packet the draft of the goals that were developed at the retreat. And some had to be formatted a little bit, so we say. But I hope it adequately reflects what council desired. If there are any changes you'd like on that, I thought you might like to have a draft copy to just review. And if you want to talk about it all now, we can. And if they look good, or when they look good, we can go ahead and get those approved by resolution at the next meeting.
That looked like a pretty good list there, Andy. I couldn't think of anything you left off.
And this was based off the sheets that our facilitator was using. And again, there are a few missing words and things like that, and they had to make it a little more clear in some places. But if you have any changes, feel free to let me know. If not, we can move forward with that.
Yeah. Well, I thought that looked pretty good, looked pretty complete.
It was good meeting.
Good job.
Yeah.
Let me hand that over to John.
Yes, I saw it.
Oh, okay. I just
Yeah,
want to make sure that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, input.
Okay, there's nothing more on the goals. I will move to paperless packets.
All for it.
Mayor and council, I was hoping you were gonna say that. In 2020, we got money to purchase laptops. I think most of you have laptops now from the city. I understand we gotta fix your password and we can get that done. I thought we have a work order for that, so we just need to probably finish that up.
Okay, I've got my new one, I got the old.
Yep. Either one is fine, and if you'd like the new one, I can switch you out. We frankly spend a lot of money on paper and printing, and this process is not as efficient as it could be. There is times when you're gonna want a paper packet, especially if we have a plan set or something like that. It's a lot easier to read. What we would like to do is offer the possibility to start getting those digital packets. We've been providing them to the public for a long time on the website, and it would basically come in the link. It would not come in the link you get on Mondays, but what would happen as soon as Wonder completes the packet, we would send that out as a link to council and it would be live on the website. That usually goes live on the website right before you get your packet right now, like she'll post it on there and then we take the packet out. Usually Andy, Jared and I deliver the packets to everyone. We can continue doing so if that's what you'd like. But if you would be willing to take digital packets, I think there's a couple of benefits. One, we're gonna save quite a bit of money on paper and toner. And as a practice, it's less paper just to deal with in general. Two, I think that you probably could get your packets a little bit quicker than you get now. Maybe not a lot quicker, but for instance, this last packet, Wonder was able to complete it on Thursday. I brought it out Thursday, but we could mail it out pretty much upon completion. And this will just let us continue to optimizing our processes and make efficiencies here in our administration department. The other option is if you'd like to continue receiving a paper packet and others of you would not, we can try that as well. So we just wanted to raise this topic because we do have the technology now to get you paper packets or paperless packets. And we wanted to see what your thoughts were on it and if we might be able to try it.
I am all for it, but like the whole 4 points thing, I was very glad to have
Oh, yeah.
that actual paper packet, so I'm all for it, except for things like that.
Yeah,
Because I could not have read that online, like I needed to.
Lisa, I feel the same way.
So would we bring our laptop to the meetings? Is that the idea?
You could, that's an option. I've talked to Andy, we could very easily modify the dais up here to like have electrical in the underneath the bench. There's power on the back wall there, so we could either use that for the time being, or we could wire it in so it's less of a trip hazard. Your laptop obviously is battery powered too, and you just need it for the packet if you wanted to refer to it. I can also probably put the agenda on the screen. We could look and see. I think we'd want to experiment with that a little bit first before I say it's the be all end all. But that would be kind of what I was thinking is you bring that laptop, you have your packet there and then just go through it.
I was thinking that we still have like the paper agenda.
Yeah, I think that would
In
be,
front of us.
that would
and
be
then
just
we
on the
could-
desk when we
And then we
walk
could
in.
have the
Yeah.
laptop that we could.
I
look
like
at
that.
this.
We could, yeah,
That's good.
scroll through, yeah. I
And,
like
and,
that
you know,
too.
you can always, anybody can always print something specific, like I can go through the packet and choose which piece of paper I want to
Sure.
bring in to write notes on.
or you told us at staff too, like you want a page 5 or whatever, we could
Sure.
print that and have it
Well,
ready.
I don't want you guys, I mean, I can do it because I work at the library and I have a printer, you guys don't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
Now, for the, my computer, I try, I'm like the worst because I really don't like technology at all. But, I just need you to help me get on the internet so I can actually get the stuff onto that computer,
Sure.
otherwise I'll have to bring
I can set that up.
practically my desktop out with me to the meetings.
Yeah, they're a little rough.
Once you set up the laptop is really easy. Like, I had a rough time too.
Okay,
I turned it on, it did do what I wanted to do, and immediately I was disinterested.
I
was
will,
like, that's it.
I will make appointments with all of you. We can figure out if you got issues. Have you tried yours yet? Oh, I thought, you're right. I will give it to you tonight. Okay, I thought I had brought it by the shop and I did not. I apologize.
Sorry?
But I'll get you
I
good.
need to trade the computers I have, but I typically I'm the odd guy out. I prefer a paper thing. I make notations on it, I reread it. It's not as visual to me. I can't make my notes on the computer. I don't have any way of printing it, so I look for to stay away.
Okay,
For me, I'm not saying for the.
Well, this is also
Yeah.
save you guys from being attacked by my dogs every time you walk in my yard.
Well, he
Every one
attacked
of
me
you has been
today.
attacked by my dogs.
I saw him on Thursday and his tail was wagging like super hard. I
He's
was like, I
very,
know
he
we can
looks
get along.
mean, but he's
Yeah.
like, this back end is happy.
UPS man.
Yeah, you can load up the
The
notepad.
UPS
You
just
can-
throws it over
you
the
can do that
fence
and do it right
there.
on.
Yeah.
You can write on it.
I keep on our computers, I keep just a Word doc running and just city council and a new date on a new page.
class.
Well,
We can do that.
you, Lisa.
Yeah,
Well,
I
you guys
think
want-
it's gonna be
You
a
can do
little
it too,
training
Jimmy.
experimental thing.
If you want-
I need to-
John, if they need any technical help, the library provides it for
Okay.
free, and all they have to do is set up a time with Heather, she's our IT person, and they will walk you through whatever you need to know over there. And if, John, if you want to sit in on it, that's
That'd
great.
be great.
Yeah, but it's
Maybe-
all free and she can help them on any time so that you don't have to.
Well, then I can kind of be there to help make sure we get the right pieces.
Yeah.
Maybe what we could do is if Wonder could start sending everybody the digital packet, and we'll still bring you a paper copy, there's no problem. But then everybody has a digital packet and you can kind of, you know, you can try it out if you like and see how it goes, and then you have both.
I'll try it.
And then if there is a packet that will require, you know, as Wonder's putting it together, she's gonna have a pretty good idea if you're gonna want a paper copy, so.
Yeah.
We'll just make sure that we get those paper copies out of the
And
big
then
stuff.
just an agenda.
Yep, and we'll print that and
Yeah.
have that available.
I like the printed agenda.
Okay,
And if something,
I make a lot of
if
notes.
something goes haywire, that we can always call Wonder to print us off
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Right?
yeah, anytime, and we could always run it by anybody if you need it.
Sure.
Well, I'm just saying, if you don't have that agenda in front of you, you're trying to make a motion and you're trying to move your screen back.
Oh, there's
and forth.
no-
No, the agenda's
Yeah.
no way, but that's
Yeah,
awesome.
It's not gonna
Yeah,
happen.
that's good
It
to have
has
on
to
desk.
be there.
We
Even
have
maybe
to have
sometimes the
that.
resolutions, you know, but again, I don't wanna pick and choose, because otherwise it just becomes more work, but
Maybe we could look at the resolutions being a part of the agenda too, like that, maybe just a real,
beefier.
you know, slightly longer agenda with the. Andy, do you have any thoughts about that, like including okay,
A little bit more of the
Start with the
resolution.
agenda and we'll see how it goes. Yeah,
I did.
we can be flexible.
okay.
I'm all
I'll
about getting
make sure we
rid of
get the
paper,
password and the switch over, and then we'll make sure everybody's online the way that they need to be.
Okay.
So John, you're thinking that it would be a good idea for everyone to bring their laptops, right?
It would be the easiest way to make sure that you can go through if you have any questions about the agenda, or if you want to access your notes.
That's just a little, you know, if they can do that, that would be ideal, because then they'll have it here, and if their laptop is fully charged, that should do them for
Correct.
most meetings, right?
Oh, yeah, brand new.
Yeah,
You
there's-
can plug in here, but I know that can be a hassle trying to plug in, but if you're fully charged.
We may want to think about adding electrical,
Right.
I think it should be easy,
Well, And I think
maybe not.
you can think that you're gonna have a charge, but somebody's gonna forget, and
Right.
they're gonna bring their
I
computer
appreciate
and it's
that.
not gonna.
There is
start.
power back there,
So there's
so
power, but it's behind you, so it could be a trip hazard and all that. That's why we talked about putting the dais up here.
Is that what's that right there on the floor over there?
That
mic
is for
check.
the,
Oh, the mic.
for the, podium.
Podium, yeah.
it might be able to be, we might be able to, it's something we've talked
There is
about.
one here, though, I mean, so
Yeah,
if somebody.
with some
needed it.
modifications, we might be able to make it better that way. Yeah.
I have a suggestion, but unfortunately I won't be able to partake in that first one, but I thought maybe if the next work session, if everybody bought their computers, that way we can just kind of do a mock-up of what the meeting would look like before we are in front of people struggling with our computers. Would that be
Is that okay?
Yeah.
just a little trial
Struggle.
run?
I think, you have to stay with the paper for now until you get dialed in.
All right,
Yeah, I mean, that way we can just try.
so we'll
and see
do
what it
paper
goes-
packets
Okay.
for the next regular meeting, which is next week.
Next week,
And
Monday,
then
yeah.
maybe the following work session will.
Well,
Give it a shot.
can we do the electronic and the paper
Sure.
at the next
Yeah.
meeting?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
So
totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can try to
Let's do that.
follow.
I'll bring my
Let's have a
computer
bit
to
of a
see.
transition.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
That's
try-
why we wanted to bring this up, because, we've been talking about this for quite a while. We've been, remote for a long time. We said, now we're coming back. Why don't we see if we can maybe
Sure.
do some of this paperless?
Okay,
What works and what
so we'll
doesn't.
send out a digital copy and then we'll deliver the real packet this next time. And then I heard a couple of things that we gotta fix, so we'll fix those problems and then hopefully we'll be able to start working on that transition.
I'll bring mine to the library tomorrow, see if
Okay.
Heather can help me.
I can come by too.
I'll be there at 10 to 5.
To confirm, digital and paper for work session or for
You
regular
don't have to
meeting?
do me a paper. I will just bring my computer.
I don't need the paper either.
I'll just need the agenda.
For regular or for work session?
For
Both.
both things.
Okay.
I'm going full in. Okay.
Same here, Wonder.
These two.
Yeah, I'm same thing.
Okay, anything more on the paperless packet?
I just want to make sure I'm clear. I think I heard that we wanted to do one more regular meeting with a paper packet. This is what I
And the
heard.
digital.
We're gonna do both.
And the digital,
Yes.
right?
But I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna try my best not to need it, because I can always print whatever I need at the library.
You wanna
She's weaning
split the
And
herself
she can
off.
print whatever she wants at her
I
home.
just need the agenda.
Just the
that's all.
agenda.
All right, so you two don't,
Chicks are
want everyone
going in.
else will get a paper copy.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
no
just
need
want to make
to-
sure we
you
had it
can
clear.
come by.
I won't, I won't be here
Okay.
next next
Okay.
meeting Monday.
So you only paper copy. All right.
Can I bring my own computer?
Yes, sir.
Write that down. You might need those.
I can bring it by if you want.
Just we'll sign our names, whoever wants one.
Okay,
Yeah, right. It's okay using it all.
all right. Anything more on the paperless packets? Then the last thing on the agenda is the city cleanup day.
Mayor and council, this is a long tradition in the city that we do a day in the spring where we do kind of a cleanup of the town. Last time we did this was in 2020. 2021, we had to skip the event, but Doyle, the mayor talked to Doyle and they were willing to donate 2 dumpsters for this event this year, which is pretty kind. Essentially what
If I may
our,
clarify, I think we're paying for one.
Oh, sorry.
We are,
I
but
apologize.
but I do appreciate,
No, it's just
there is one of them is completely free.
Okay.
That's nice.
it's still a great thing for Doyle to do for our community.
Yep.
So basically, the plan is they would be in the park at CRC Park in the parking lot as they were in 2020. We'll have staff on site, Andy and myself will be there. I've typically worked with some of the area businesses to get breakfast burritos and coffee in the morning, and we have a small budget for that, about $300 in the budget to do that work. And usually they'll do a discount, so usually I'll do whoever is providing it. I think the best way is to do coupons so they can go down and get it. That way we don't have to handle food and it's a lot better for everybody. People typically take bags out into the community and they can clean up along the river or they can clean up, wherever they find trash. People really like doing it. We have a lot of people who come and volunteer. It's kind of a fun day. We also have in the past provided residents starting in 2020 the opportunity to bring not just household waste, but to bring items to the dumpsters,
Bulk trash kind of thing?
bulk trash, but not things like mattresses or hazardous materials or paint. That stuff we can't take, but we can take,
Tires and appliances.
correct, yeah, anything
What about
like that.
computers and stuff like that?
We can't. I was trying to find a person who could come up here and take them,
I-
but I didn't have a person that day. But if you knew somebody, I could try to.
I'll get you a name, but it's a great
Okay.
company. It's a female started company in
Oh,
Golden.
cool.
And
Okay.
I think they do pickups, but I'm not sure. There is a charge.
Well, maybe we
They
could,
do charge.
we have a little bit of money for this event. So if we could figure that out, we might be able to coordinate that.
I'll get it for you.
Okay.
Thank you, Jim.
It's kind of a cool thing from code perspective thing because we can maybe clean up a couple of yards as well, which is always a good thing. Last year we built dumpsters and we found, or not last year, but the year before, we don't want those dumpsters sitting there because they obviously create a problem. So Doyle would come probably early in the afternoon on that Saturday, the 21st, so probably around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and pick them up so that they're not there anymore. That's
What day is this?
May 21st.
Saturday.
The other thing is, I heard a lot of people just don't know about
They don't, we haven't published the details
it.
yet.
I mean, even in the past.
Yeah, we publish it always on the city website. In the last couple of years, we've changed.
Where's
Well, I wasn't quite done with all the things that we publish them on. So we publish it on the website. It's been on social media. It was published by the chamber because they were a partner. Tommy Knockers, Smoking Yards published it. Doyle published it. So there's a lot of that happens. It's one of those things. And we also post in the park and at City Hall on the boards and at Safeway. We pretty much, in the post office, we put it out quite a bit in the past. And it actually is well attended. I think last year we had, or about 2 years ago, I think we had about 60 people who participated overall. So I think we always can publish it better. But one of the things that, that's pretty much all we really need to do at this point, is a marketing plan, get it out there and make sure people know. And finalize food details, as long as it's okay for that $300 to do like breakfast burritos, coffee kind of thing. And then if you guys have any questions,
She's
Yeah.
great. They're a great company.
nobody wants us to handle their food. We're not professionals, so just better.
May I ask a quick, like, I love the idea. I've lived in places that do like quarterly bulk trash. Is that something that we are able to do? I don't know with code, is that something that we're able to do as a city? Like maybe twice a year, a bulk trash day for people to bring their non-hazardous, non-plant kind of things?
This is what this event has been, and there has been some desire in the community to do another in the fall. We could look at what it would cost to do it. To do it on a citywide scale like that is going to require more dumpsters, and so we just need to look at the cost of that and what Doyle is able, or what we could get somebody to come pick it up. The other thing that might be something of benefit to the community and has been asked is about mattresses specifically, because they're very hard to get rid of.
There's places that take them, but you have to go to a
Yeah.
specific, like maybe if we could arrange a specific dump day with those places.
We could, there's places like Rooney Road in Golden too that take hazardous materials like paint and things like that. So one of the things that Steph could do is, yeah, I was just saying, we could look at what it would take to get something like that moving forward.
What about like a slash day? I mean, one of the biggest,
Slash day.
one of the biggest wastes is people throwing their leaves in the garbage can. It doesn't, I don't do it, but whatever. I just actually grabbed somebody else's mulch for our backyard. But people do it, and they, at least over here at our dump, they use that stuff on their property. So it'd be great to have some way to get that stuff to them. not so much that Doyle would have to do it, but that maybe we can work with the county recycle.
I can certainly do that, and maybe I could report back at another work session about.
I would
what we
like
might be
that,
able to
yeah.
do.
Because I think it would help people that
Ideas
don't
of
have
things
trucks.
That promote cleanup of the outside of people's houses.
Yeah.
I think that we should just get their shepherd that is available.
That's what they do, yeah.
Don't bring it down here.
Yeah, but then you
But
got
where we gotta
somebody
haul that
operate it
stuff.
too, you gotta make sure.
No, you don't.
Well, the great thing
You
about
can go rent it.
of the county,
Yeah.
well,
I've done it many times.
that's really awesome.
Yeah, Joey, what is it, 35 or 50?
Yeah, something like that.
Really?
Yeah,
And we
yeah.
make, we
And
make
then
mulch for people?
Well,
It-
well,
they-
right, that's what-
You can go to the dump. and
Somebody,
they'll give you
somebody's
free
got,
mulch.
I mean, I got a trailer or
Yeah.
whatever, we can mulch it all into a trailer and then either they can come get it,
Come and
anybody
get
wants
2
it,
bags of it, yeah,
or take it back up there.
yeah. I mean,
I would like to see
Then-
like us.
Then they're
like
not
to-
driving up there, you know, because a
On
lot of
that
people
road.
don't have the means
Providing
of,
that
Right.
to the city, how do we
you know,
do
getting
that?
rid of it, but if they
Transfer
can
station.
centrally
do it down
here,
here.
it's a lot easier, I would think.
Not only that, but the stuff is good to use in your backyard.
That's
I
what I'm
mean, so
saying.
Immediately
Absolutely,
organic, yeah,
or they could
And it's
bring
free.
their own and take it back.
yeah, because
I'm totally with you on that one.
we got a
So,
whole load up there, which would have
Sure.
cost us probably $300.
oh, yeah, absolutely.
So it's all right if I bring idea back to you at another work session, I could start looking at that and what we might be able to do.
Yeah, I can talk to T-Bob too up there, I mean, we're up there all the time, you know, different stuff, so. I mean, I can certainly ask him.
And just for some perspective, I know St. Mary's does this cleanup day, and Georgetown does. Doyle also donates roll-off dumpsters for these folks too.
Yeah.
John, did you say we're gonna provide some sort of, I mean, I know that, I think I said something to you about Pagosa Springs. If for every bag that you bring in, you get a coupon that you throws into a drawing and they do this drawing and then you get prizes.
I was thinking about the food piece, that you could get the food coupons, but we could definitely look at something like that too. Just incentive to get people to participate.
I mean, especially places like, you know, the east side that doesn't get a whole lot of attention, maybe you ask some of those businesses that would possibly benefit from that kind of stuff, that maybe, you know, I'm just saying, spread it out so that we're not just asking these guys for everything all the time. But it sounds like it's a really big deal down in Pagosa, like, you know, they get a lot of people that are wanting to do it, so they bring as many bags full of garbage as they can.
We have tended to be a little more generous with the coupons. We'll give them out when they get the bags, because if they're going to the far end of town, they can do their pickup, leave it on the curb, and then Public Works will come
Come
by
get it,
and
yeah.
pick it up. They'll make the rounds. And then we also need someone to keep an eye on the dumpster, so we don't have people dropping
Yeah.
off
Oh, I know.
unwanted
Other
items. So-
households.
Refrigerator.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's necessary, but I just thought it was a fun idea to
Yep, so if they're different, we can look at different ways of
Yeah.
doing
think
things.
incentives or
Yep.
whatever, yeah.
Yep.
Sure.
What's that?
I just like the idea that we could do one more than just one day a week, like we do a mattress day, we do a slash day, we do, let's make your mulch. Like, I think from a city perspective, programs that we can provide for people that live here, because trash is an issue here, you know, and getting rid of things is an issue here. How can we be part of that to make that a more positive thing than just one day a year? Like, I love one day a year, I'm all in, but what else can we do?
Yeah, I agree, especially after summer when there is a lot of refuse that's
Oh
just
my
getting thrown in the landfill.
Or if people start redoing their houses, and I'm speaking from experience, the amount of junk that comes out of your house, you're like, oh, what do you with that?
Rent or roll off.
Because my neighbor's
She
gonna
can't
love
have
when I
one,
park
yeah.
that on my street.
Yeah, she's not gonna like that. We'll never get around that corner ever again.
Right.
My house will be egged in about 4 seconds.
All right, anything else on cleanup day?
Oh, yes, John, do you want to mention just about the soft opening, and that was kind of the day we were thinking about for locals for the trail?
That is the day we'd like to open B Camp
All
for
right.
just local traffic only. We've ordered some, or we are finalizing some signs that we'll order this week. They're campaign style signs, the plastic ones that you can get. Very simple, but they'll just be for local traffic while we're trying to work the kinks out of B Camp. So that could be an opportunity for people to go kind of check out the trail while they're
Nice.
maybe take some trash out of there too, because there is trash up there as well, so.
Okay,
So our thinking was we promote both the cleanup day and, hey, go check out the new trail in the city.
all right.
So-
Groovy.
It's a really cool trail, so if you guys are up for a walk, it's a good one right now.
You get a lot of exercise that day.
Yes, a lot of
And they're not gonna,
exercise.
it's not a big deal, like Andy said, that it's not a big deal for them to, they don't care that we're gonna walk right by them.
Well, there is a point where we're probably going to limit access to the upper half of the trail just because construction isn't completely completed there. But it will be signed, and we've got everything will be signed appropriately. So there is a public permanent easement that gets to the park, and that will always be open for free to the public, no matter what. So we worked with them at the Argo to make sure that that is available, and they know this is coming. As long as, the whole thing is, this is just for residents right now. This whole trail system was designed to be an amenity for residents. It is of course going to attract other people, but what we're trying to do is set the foundation that this is a regional residential amenity first and foremost. And so that's what this program will do, and we're working, that's kind of where we're working towards, to build that with the Argo and the parking and the whole bit. So I think that it should be fine.
Okay,
The construction people, they're currently working just east of Rosa Gulch, up towards Santa Fe Mine Road, so it's a pretty good ways up there. It's probably like 4 miles up the
Okay.
trail, so most people, there's a saddle between the two peaks in the park. And it's a pretty kind of rocky place with a really good view looking west. I think that's likely where most people will end their hike.
That's about 2 miles up,
we've done it all the way to the
Okay.
top, to that weird old mine. up
but
there
not on
that
a
people
nice
live in.
trail.
I know, not, no, it was a scramble, it was a scramble, and we definitely did it in the dark of night, we didn't want anybody to see us.
Parking
Before it was legal.
down below, or can you drive up top?
No parking up top. There is parking available.
I'm talking down at the Argo.
Yeah, there's 5 spaces at the Argo that are gonna be set aside for B camp right now,
And those will be marked.
right? When the park completely opens, there'll be 10 spaces set aside for B camp parking just at the Argo. We also are looking at other places around where it's feasible to have parking. We've looked at, the visitor center isn't opposed to us using parking on the east end of the lot, like the far east end of the lot. We're gonna try to keep them out of CRC parking lot. But we're open to them parking in front of the glass shop and the city-owned parking right there, which is another, I think, 10 spaces right there. And then there's parking up by the hot springs that's publicly available. And parking by the fire station, there's another 19 public spaces right there.
And there's sort of technically parking, but city parking on Riverside all the way down in the apartment area too.
Yeah, we're gonna try, I would really like to limit Riverside parking, and so we have some signage that
Yeah.
we discussed that would just limit
But it
that.
does say city
Yeah.
parking, so just so you know that you might
It could
have
be-
people that come in on that road and go, I'll just do this.
We might have a conversation about city resident parking only, but I think that's another,
That might be residential
Yeah.
only parking. I would agree on that one, 100%.
Okay, before we adjourn, anything else? Well, then I want to thank everybody at 7 o'clock.